Welcome to Life, Biz, and All That Jazz, the podcast where real talk meets transformation. If you're navigating your mental health, healing from trauma, sobriety, ADHD, and just want to create a life that truly feels like yours, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Jasmine Lashotto, and every week we share the raw, the messy, the transformations, the tips and tricks that you need to control your brain, to be happy, and to live a life that really feels like yours. Season 3 is going to change a lot of things for you. Season 1 and 2 were the foundations. If you haven't listened to any of those episodes, I do recommend listening to the first few episodes of the whole season, my story. It does set a little bit more context of me, who I am, what I've been through. I won't be going back and touching on anything like that other than if it's talking about my dad, where it can bring help and move forward. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I've discussed in earlier episodes that I don't really need to continue to talk about because that's kind of holding on to my trauma. And that's something that I've left behind me because my story is not my purpose and your story is not your purpose either. If you're new here, welcome. Welcome to the family because that's what we are. We are a family. We don't need to compete. We don't need to judge. We are here to listen and we are here to support each other. And if you come back for more, welcome back. I'm so excited that you're back and we have another great season together. Here's something no one talks about enough. Those of us who drank too much weren't doing it to party. We were doing it to feel normal, to quiet the chaos, to finally slow down our brains that never stopped. If you ever used alcohol to cope, to numb, to feel something, to quiet the too muchness, the overwhelm, the rejection, the spinning thoughts, this episode is for you. We're going to go over a lot of the reasons why this happens to people with ADHD. So stay with me till the end. I have something for you. Let's get into today's episode. Main topics we'll be covering today is why ADHD brains are designed to self-medicate, what the shift from coping to dependency looks like, how sobriety gave me back myself, and what's possible for you. Let's start with this question. When did I notice that alcohol was doing something for my brain that nothing else could do? Well, to be honest, I didn't know what alcohol was doing for my brain and my ADHD until I stopped drinking. I obviously knew my relationship with alcohol was not normal for years. I probably started drinking like socially when I was 15. That was like weekends, which is really bad now to think about it. I'm lucky I even finished school and went to uni. But anyway, that's another topic. Socially, yes, around 15, I feel like it got worse when my mum and dad broke up, and that was my dad's first attempt to take his life. That was really tragic. That's when it got worse. Obviously, that's when I was numbing. That's when I was escaping. That's when I was doing all I could to feel normal because my external world and my normal life, we'll call it normal, was chaotic. And the drink quietened my mind. It stopped my racing thoughts. It just made me not have to feel life for a moment. Fast forward, obviously, then I turned 18. You start going out. I wasn't really a big clubber. We used to have more like house parties and stuff like that. But then probably like 19, 20, I was drinking, but also doing party drugs. I think at that point, that's obviously when the drinking maybe wasn't enough. And then it kind of, I needed that something else to numb. Then after that, I moved to Queensland when I was 21 and that slowed down the drinking a little bit. And it's still going out, but I had a lot of other things going on. I was kind of away from that scene. Then I think it wasn't until, and it was more just like a socially thing. Like I used to still do it, but I think I kind of got to a point where there was other things that were helping me and, you know, life was kind of on track. I'd moved to the Gold Coast. I was at uni, you know, I was kind of ticking off the boxes that I always wanted to tick. Then come to 28 is when my dad took his life. And that's when I started to drink on my own. So that's when the alcohol went from, I think, coping to more of the dependency for me anyway. And that's when I feel like things went downhill, but then they kind of went uphill again. Probably when I was about 30, early 30s. maybe like 31, I started to like do a little bit of the online space, and that's when I started my business. I started to look at other avenues for income, obviously build a great career, but that career as well was draining me and making me want to drink all the time as well. And that industry. It was also that inner work started a bit more then. It was kind of like I pushed a lot down, but then I was surrounding myself with different people online and seeing more out there. Like I was on Instagram more. My algorithm then started to be a bit more about mindset, and I was connected with different people that are, doing different things and focusing on their mindset while also trying to build a business. So that shifted things as well. That was when I had a really good pattern. I bought my apartment. I'd always kind of gone through and coasted and like kind of did good things, but I always knew that alcohol was holding me back. Then I did my first 75-day challenge. That's when a lot of things changed for me. I saw a different side. I knew that I didn't need to drink, but at the end of it, you just fall back into those patterns. I feel like this is explaining a lot longer than I wanted it to explain, but that's me going on a tangent. So come to 35 is when I had my real kick and knew that it needed to change. Something needed to change. And I had it in me, it was like, no, like it was that final thing that I needed to stop drinking. And then I stopped. But then that's when a lot of other things come out. It was realizing that I had been drinking since 15 and using it to cope. That was my coping, my dependency because of my ADHD. This is when I got diagnosed. This is when I just healed so much deep wounds and really had that massive transformation that I always needed to have, that transformation that I would have had when I was younger if I had the right help or if I didn't use drinking as a coping mechanism, because it was just hiding everything else. I was masking for years. I was hiding. I was just pushing through life. And at the time, you don't know that you're doing this, but now when you come out the other side, you can really just see everything and you have that awareness of all the stages of your life and why you do what you do. And especially for me, for studying ADHD and neuroscience, it's a whole new level of awareness. And that's why I want to share this with you. So that's a recap for that. So that's kind of the question of, I didn't know that I was using it to cope and be dependent until I stopped. I had an inkling. I knew that I liked to do it. It's just that you're in that cycle and you don't see it. You don't see it till you come out the other side. I guess another big thing as well is it is who you surround yourself with. And a lot of the times I surrounded myself with people that like to party and like to drink. And that's why this journey has probably been one of the loneliest journeys. I'm nearly sober for 1,000 days. It's coming to 3 years in August. And I'm going to tell you now that it is a lonely journey, but it's not as lonely as it is drinking by yourself or having a coping dependency on alcohol. So it's a different type of loneliness, but through the loneliness, you'll find yourself again and you find a version of you that you will be so proud of and that you will love and self-respect that much that you won't want to go back to drinking again. Because that's what it gets to. And that's the point I'm at right now, that I could never think of touching alcohol. I can be around it. I could have it in the house. I can be given free alcohol and not drink it. I could be in a room. Like when I went to Bali, there was alcohol in the fridge from a villa I stayed at. I went to parties in Bali where there's free drinks everywhere, you name it. And it's the power that I have inside me and the self-respect for my body. Because when I drank, the way that I drank and drinking for all that time and just drinking in general to me was when I didn't have the self-respect for myself. I didn't really like myself deep down. I knew that I wasn't living my best life. I knew that I wasn't living to my potential. But that pain and that trauma and that sabotage of just myself and being my best version of myself, I didn't know how to be that person because the alcohol was just taking over. It took over my brain. I think as well, like once we do get into a certain age, it's really known that alcohol is like a stress relief. It's a celebration. We drink it when we're sad. There's so many things that we do, we use alcohol for that are as socially acceptable. And I think it's wrong because alcohol is like the most addictive drug in the world. And it causes so many cancers. Like I don't want this episode to be about that because I really want it to focus on ADHD and alcohol. So I need to come back and reframe. It also is a point where it is a stress relief. It's like coming home from a hard day's work and having that glass of wine. It's kind of weird because sometimes I will see in a movie or summer and I kind of like have a think about it. I've never really had an urge of being like, I need a drink. And I know I'm probably an exception, or I'm someone that's very different when it comes to the way that I've been able to stop drinking. I stopped on my own. I didn't need any sobriety support or meetings. I literally just woke up one day and stopped. And I used an app. So that's probably the biggest thing that I could say that was my support, was a tracking app. I still randomly look at it now. I actually have a widget on my laptop that kind of just shows the days, which I think is pretty cool. And it's more now of just like how far I've come, gives me that boost and that power to continue to go and be like, this is only the beginning. But I think, yeah, I was saying about the urges, I've kind of just lost my train of thought. This is a perfect example of my ADHD brain. And you'll understand because you know what it's like. So yes, I'm really going off on a few tangents here. We really need to bring this back because I don't want these episodes to be an hour long. These are going to be solo episodes. And if I want to be putting 2 episodes out a week, I need to be a little bit stricter on the timing. So that's kind of a like recap of a few things. And I'd love to know what your answers to these questions are. So I'm going to pop questions in the show notes. And if you're sober or you're sober curious or you're listening to this and you know that your relationship with alcohol is not healthy and you want to look at where to start or what to do, just have a think of the questions. And you don't need to have the right answers. The answers aren't going to be right or wrong is what I'm more trying to say. But as I said, I'm going to go over something that I have for you, which is a really good resource that you could try that I wish that I had. Oh, that's what I was also saying. I did this whole journey on my own and it was really lonely. That's what I was saying as well. So that's why I don't want people to feel like that they need to go to meetings, that they need to get someone to pay for someone to support them. Like you can do that. There's so much free information online to support you. There's so many people that are doing it to allow you to be able to follow them. And that's why I'm sharing what I'm sharing, because I want to provide this to people that, don't know where to start or don't know if they have a problem or don't know what to do. Take that first step, whether that's a centimeter step or whether that's a big jump straight into it. Doesn't matter what, you're in the right pace. Now let's talk about the ADHD alcohol connection nobody's talking about. ADHD brains are constantly overstimulated and unregulated. We need to work harder to regulate and to reduce the stimulation in our lives so it doesn't continue to affect us in a negative way. What helps with that? Alcohol. Alcohol quietens the mind. Alcohol helps you regulate, but it's only short term. Then you need to keep drinking because you can't regulate normally anymore. And it's that flow-on effect that you get to a point where you're not just coping anymore. You're dependent on it. You need that glass of wine every single day to just relax at the end of the day. You need that blowout on the weekend to black out and have a big party because you just need a reset. And that's your only way that you know how to do it, to just be switched off and numb for one night. Another key factor is alcohol boosts dopamine. And we all know what we are like with dopamine. We lack dopamine. Our brains can't process our dopamine properly. We get dopamine boosts from the most unhinged, problematic things that are not helping us regulate, and alcohol is one of them. It literally boosts your dopamine. It gives you that hit so hard that your brain is like, give me more of that. And you don't even realize before you know it, you've had 5 drinks, because one drink, we can go out and have 1 drink. No, that is just not a thing. You just need to accept that right now. If you drink alcohol, you need to accept that you can never just do 1. Just accept it. And if you can't, if you think you can and you want to keep trying that, come back later when you do realize I'll be here for you. People with ADHD are 2 to 3 times more likely to develop alcohol use disorders. Now, this isn't a weakness, and it gets shunned upon, it gets judged, it gets just negative aspects thrown at this because people don't see past the problem. And I know for years, I wasn't told to my face that I had a problem with drinking. It was behind my back. And no one come to me to ask what's actually wrong. But it's not people's fault around you. And it's not up to people around you to be able to tell you, because most of the time people aren't educated in helping people do that, especially if they don't really drink much themselves, or they don't really deal with a lot of their issues, and they kind of just go through life and haven't really worried about things. Now, that's not healthy in itself, but you can't blame other people for not telling you that there was a problem. But you need to realize that there's going to be people that aren't going to understand you, and they're not going to support you because they think that you've got a problem. They don't see the back end of it, the science, the neurobiology, that, you know, you're not just drinking for destruction and to have a shitty life and to wake up every day and not remember what happened or wake up with the regret. Like, you're not actively choosing this, but it is a cycle that you are in, and you need to actively choose to stop. So if that's a lot of the reasons why you feel you drank or you do drink, then let's talk about it becoming a little bit more than this. And this is where we're coming from the coping to the dependency. It starts with the solution. You found a solution to what you need. You found the solution to numb the pain. You found the solution to quiet your mind. You found the solution to just switch off for just a few hours. But then it becomes a pattern. It becomes a habit. And then it becomes the need. And this could be over a few years. This could be over a decade. This could be over months. It really just depends on you, your brain, and everyone's wired different. No matter, like, we've all got ADHD, but that doesn't mean that all our brains are the same, because we're all still different in our ways, that some things trigger us differently. We have different environments. We have different upbringings. There's so many factors that affect, but there are obviously similar things that we do go through where we can relate. Another key factor is masking and alcohol. And this can be more common for women because we need to hold up some certain perception of who we are, and we have that pressure a little bit more. Not saying that men don't have the pressure, but I'm just referring to this as from my experience and obviously research that I've done, and that masking when you've got a glass of wine is a lot easier to do than not, especially when it comes to social events and it comes to business, work events. It's so easy to be able to become that version of yourself that you really want to be deep down, but you can't be fully until you've had a glass of wine. With alcohol being so socially accepted, it allows for people that are using it as a coping mechanism, especially neurodivergent people who have it as more just social drinking. Because it's so socially accepted, it allows that next level, that one that's just here before someone is fully dependent on it and every single day can't function. I'm not saying there's a spectrum when it comes to alcohol dependency, but there is a certain wave, and I can't tell you the exact way that you're going to be able to get through this. I can only share what I'm sharing, the facts, where I can support you and share my story. So if you relate to this, then maybe there's things that you can learn from my story to be able to implement into your life. And I also want to just touch on, if you are someone that does drink every single day and you don't go to work or you can't function without it first thing in the morning, sometimes you may need to get different support. And I can't sit here and say that I have all the answers, because I don't. And I just want to help people where I can help people and share this and hope that it can help someone. All right, so back onto the social and neurodivergence. Yeah, I just think it's because it's so socially accepted, then that's when we are kind of in that hidden, forgotten area, because you don't show it. You're not actively showing people. You can mask really easily who you are and then hide it at nighttime, or still functioning, being able to function with it and still go to work, and people will miss it. They will miss it and look at it as just thinking that you don't care. Another big thing is the shame spiral. So you drink, you have a big weekend, you do stuff that you regret, or you just black out, because that's actually what happens with the blackout. You might be functioning the whole night, but alcohol removes the glycate, and then that's when you can't reproduce that, and that's what helps store your memories. So you wake up with the regret. It's the weekend, Sunday, you probably go out and have a Sunday sesh. If not, just have anxiety all day, feel depressed, know that you have to work the next day, go to work on a Monday, come home, maybe not drink Monday, maybe you'll have one glass of wine to help you kind of get through that day, and you're still feeling hungover from the weekend. Then you get to Tuesday, might If you didn't drink on Monday, you'll probably definitely have one on Tuesday. Again, could just be 1 or 2 glasses, could go out for like cheap Tuesday drinks, and then it kind of gets to like Wednesday, Thursday. It really depends on what you're doing in your life, but it could just be that you just kind of had 1 or 2 glasses during the week each night. Then the weekend comes and you're like, it hasn't been enough. I need more. I need to really numb. And then you go out. And then it just repeats. And because you're just so ashamed and you're so upset or hurt and that self-respect is just not there, you don't see through the pattern. And it's okay. It's okay that you can't see the pattern. But if you're watching this, there's a reason why you watch this and you clicked on this, and there's a reason why you know deep down that you deserve more. And here's what nobody tells you about the other side. So we're going to end this on a positive note because there's just so many positive things about removing alcohol. Sobriety forces you to feel. It forces you to finally feel and finally deal with all the stuff that you've been blocking down, everything that you've just pushed down and tried to just carry on your way, thinking that it's never going to come back up again. Well, because if you don't deal with it now, you're going to be dealing it in the future when it comes to your health. Like stress, stored trauma is the biggest cause of stress-induced diseases and illnesses. Having to feel is terrifying, but it's so liberating. When you know how to process your emotions and feel properly, nothing can kind of get to you. Yeah, you're going to have sad times, like things are going to happen in your life where you're going to be upset, but you deal with them very differently when you're sober. And for example, when I lost my dog nearly 12 months ago now, I dealt with that properly at the start. So now I can move forward. I'm always going to miss her and she's always going to have a piece of my heart. But before, I used to deal with grief so differently. I'd just get drunk, numb, store it down, move on. Was never processed. The same as for years. It took me 6 years to actually process losing my dad because I just kept pushing it down and numbing it with drinking and just coasting through life, thinking that what I went through wasn't traumatic. What I went through was the most traumatic thing that most people will ever hear about in their lives. It's okay to accept that you've been through some really, really tough and traumatic times, but it's not holding on to that and knowing that that's not your fault and that's not your story. It's something that happened to you, but you need to deal with it still. Another big thing is the way that you will boost dopamine, and you will get dopamine naturally when it comes to creativity, exercise, laughter, joy. I find joy in the most smallest things now, especially music. I've really fallen back in love with music and running. I'm a runner. Like, what? I love peace. I love peace so much right now that I love the quietness. And for someone with ADHD, having the quietness sounds a bit odd, but that's the environment and that's the safety that I've created for myself, that I know how to regulate properly. I can find triggers that I am starting to feel unregulated. I have a morning routine where I just need to do it every morning, and if it's not the same, then I won't be regulated for the day and it will take me a while to come back. That's just a few examples. Another thing I want you to realize is when an ADHD brain is in recovery, you need tailored solutions compared to neurotypical brains in recovery. It doesn't have to be like a whole different process, but there's things that are going to be more triggering for you than it would be for a neurotypical brain. And majority of the time, people with ADHD or neurodivergence are more likely to go back to drinking if you don't have the right support or the right framework that's best for your life and who you are and your brain. As we close on today, I just want to say that you are not weak. You weren't weak. I'm trying to reframe this in a way that I'm speaking to someone that is sober and someone that's sober curious, because that's what I do. Most of you could be undiagnosed or just recently diagnosed, or, have had ADHD your whole life, but never really saw that connection with ADHD and alcohol. Life is so overwhelming. And if you've never been taught the ways and the processes and the systems to implement to reduce the overwhelm, to feel regulated, then how did you expect to live a life of regulation and normal dependency? These are things that I want you to realize and to kind of forgive yourself for, because at the time you're always doing your best. We've always done our best at the time. It's only later on that we might think, oh, I could have done different. I could have done better. Well, that's only because now you have that awareness of what you should have done differently back then, but you can't go back. And at the time you didn't know, you didn't have that awareness and that learning. And you can obviously hear in my voice how passionate I get about this, because I just want people to realize like how much more life there is when you do find a system and a lifestyle and environment and create a life that actually is yours, not what someone else's cookie cut for you. And I really try not to be like, you need to stop drinking, because I don't want to do that. But if you have ADHD and you are not where you want to be, or if you just are in generally not where you want to be in life and you drink and you know that your relationship with alcohol is not okay and not normal, like, I don't want to spell it out for you, but you need to really just sit there and have a look at your life and think of how much better your life could be if you remove this, because I'm living proof of that. And that's why I want to say it, but I'm also don't want to offend people, because I'm not that type of person where I'm going to directly tell you what to do, because if anything, ADHD people never want to be told what to do. So I know I don't want to be told what to do. I've never wanted to be told what to do when it comes to my whole life and everything in my life. Don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do it anyway, especially if it's something I was going to do and I've been told what to do. So yeah, before we go off on another tangent there. So homework for today, if you don't want to get the freebie kit that I'm going to talk about next, but I want you to just write down 3 things that alcohol was doing for you, not to you, for you. Quietening, numbing, suppressing, masking, surviving, whatever it was. And if you are sober curious, have a look at areas of your life that you feel like alcohol affects in a negative way. Send me an email, let me know, send me a DM, would love to hear it. If not, just write it down, keep it safe, and keep it somewhere where you can look back on one day, because things are about to change for you. So let's talk about my ADHD times sobriety survival kit that I made, because I'm so proud of it. As you can see as I'm dancing, it is a interactive module type thing. It's built for ADHD brains, but I know that people that are trying to get sober, if you're not ADHD, you can still use it. I've obviously just done it with certain ways that helps and what I needed at the time. So it goes through a lot of things. I'm not a specialist. I'm not a professional. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. So you really need to take this as my personal experience. And I'm an ADHD coach, which is a course that I've done, and I'm studying neuroscience. That's what I always need to make sure that you understand. If you are in a place where you need professional help, I would suggest to speak to a counselor, a psychologist, someone that has that professional that really can help you a bit more deeper than what I can help you. So it's an interactive course type thing. And, oh wait, maybe I should just show you. I'll see if I can get it up on my iPad. All right, I'll try and talk and show you. So I don't know how much you can see of this with the reflection, but this is it. So it's 8 chapters, and then it comes with a Notion hub as well. I've got my obviously disclaimer there, what I just mentioned. This got what's inside, so the different chapters. So we have a note from myself, the ADHD truth that nobody tells you about, which is kind of like what we've covered today. 5-area framework, your first 10 days, nervous system reset tools, dopamine menu. Where did it go? I just went off it. Routines, alcohol-free social scripts. So when you're going to social events and you don't want to drink, little tips you can keep in your pocket. And Notion Hub, what to do after this guide. I'm always here to help. I do offer coaching. This is something I want you to really focus on first. I really want to be able to give it that free, like things that you can take into action now. And if you do want to get extra support, I'm always here. Cute little letter from myself. And then it goes down to some information. You don't have to do this all in the same day. It has check boxes as well, just little things that you can tip on, some nervous system reset tools. There's so much there. You can go have a look. It's free. Just download it. I've got the link below to download it. I would love to hear any feedback or any recommendations on things that you want me to create for future episodes. So one thing I'm going to do this season is every single episode is going to have something for you to be able to take home and to action. I know that I'm really putting way too much on my plate right now, but I don't care. I really don't care, because I just know how much I want to share this and help people. And that's always been my mission, is to just make sure no one ever feels alone, and so people can just live their best life. So that's a wrap on today's episode. Would love any feedback on what you find interesting about today's episode, or if you learned something. Also, what do you want to hear about? Because if you have topics that you want me to talk about or things that you want me to explain when it comes to ADHD or sobriety, Let me know. I am an open book and I really want to talk about things that you want to talk about. I obviously know things that I want to talk about and what I want to share, things that have helped me and things that I wish I had back when I was starting this journey. But there could be things that I don't know or like can tailor what I'm talking about to. 3 things I want you to take from today. Number 1, ADHD brains are wired to self-medicate. This is where we start with compassion, not excuses. Number 2, the slide from coping to dependency, especially when it comes to masking. And number 3, sobriety isn't the end of relief. It's the beginning of it. So next episode, we are going to be chatting about some business ideas for ADHD brains that won't burn you out. Yes, I know I've wanted to share more business side of it, hence the name Life Biz and all that jazz. So that's what's coming in the next episode. Thanks again for listening today. If you've watched this far, I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone, even if you haven't watched this far. But just remember, it's progress, not perfection, and you are not broken, you are becoming.